Gilda was the fairy dust, and Garrett is looking for his identity. Chevy is an ego that needs to be humbled. Aykroyd is this genius that's like filtering a fire hose through a straw. Each one had like one thing to focus on. That was their journey.
A counterculture show starring total unknowns with zero narrative and even less structure.
So SNL has such a long, rich history. How did you decide to center the movie entirely leading up to its first show?
I've always been kind of enamored by these moments of greatness come into the world, you know. It's like that Peter Jackson documentary about the Beatles. What was it like when certain songs were written? And Saturday Night Live is beyond a cultural institution. It's the birthplace for, you know, a countless number of the greatest comedians of the last 50 years. Not to mention musicians, entertainers, writers. And I always wondered, what would it have been like to be in that room as they counted down to going live?
And I know you conducted interviews with cast members, people who were there that night. Was there one piece that you felt most shaped the story that you learned while you were talking to those people?
Yeah, it was oddly the bricks. The bricks were the thing. I remember reading about the fact that they put bricks down on the 8th floor of this building, and when you would never do that. It's as though you laid, you know, a real wood floor inside here. It makes no sense. And that obsession with getting the details right, that obsession with it feeling like a real night in New York City, and the fact that they were putting these bricks down together in the hours leading up, I had this moment of realizing the cohesiveness of how everyone came together, and I was like, that's what I want this movie to be, and that's how I want to make it.
So for the cast, what kind of research did you do in your roles? And if you are playing someone who's alive, were you able to talk to them? Rachel, if you want to start.
Yeah, so I play Rosie Schuster, and I got to talk to her, and she's amazing. Like, we were talking about this before, but like, she's so fucking cool. Like, she, under pressure, and like, I am not like that at all. I feel like I am like anxious and I freak out very easily, and so I heard her. Everyone go, no, not at all. You're so chill, man. Remember, you were so relaxed on set.
You're like a picture of calm.
Yeah. It's really convincing everyone.
No, I think you're right.
But she was just talking to her on the phone and hearing her like laugh about all these like crazy memories and whatever. I was like, oh my God, like that's such an amazing thing to step into, is like all this chaos is happening around you and you're like, okay, I don't care, you know, like fuck it. So that was sort of my research, and it was so much fun to get to step into that and play that.
Such a departure.
So cool you got to speak.
The transformation was.
I felt very lucky. I got to speak to one of Gilda's key collaborators and close friends, Alan Zweibel. Alan and Gilda wrote Rosanna Dana together. Their partnership in writing was like so fiery and so like loving in friendship, and getting Alan's window into Gilda, and also seeing, you know how best friends share a sensibility sometimes? Like, there were things in Alan's composure and the way that Alan communicated with me that I thought about in playing Gilda.
Oh, wow.
It was, he's magic. I'm kind of in love with Alan. But yeah, that was something that I did.
Oh, wow. No, I wanted to talk to Lorne initially in prep, but Jason didn't think that was a good idea, and it took a bit to mourn that a little bit.
To mourn the lack of Lorne.
Exactly, and that was great. But no, I just read books and interviews, and you know, the internet is very abundant with things, but. No, I met him. He was very lovely. He, as like giving us his blessing to do the movie, he invited us to SNL. Josh Brolin was hosting, and we met him in his office right afterwards, and it was very lovely, very brief, but it was interesting because it's like my idea of Lorne was him in his 20s, and here's a 79-year-old man, and it was very comforting so that like right before filming to kind of have that, oh, I didn't have to meet him, and I didn't have to try to figure him out in the present because he's a different man.
I think one of the really special things about this movie, and one of the things that Jason was really clear about with us as soon as we got going, was that we were trying to capture the spirit of this moment in time and the essence of these people at this moment in time. And so it was kind of freeing in that we didn't have to think about them 10 years later, or even them once they'd been affected by fame.
Yeah.
Like it's this really precious.
This was before they had agents,
Yeah.
the cast members. But
Yeah.
no, it was cool. We were like, we were representing them. We're not recreating them. That wasn't the thing. But it was the first screen tests and first being on set and seeing everybody in their wardrobe. It was like, oh my God, these are like superheroes or like Shakespearean characters that everyone is familiar with that we're getting the honor to show our interpretation of.
How did you
Yeah.
prep?
Yeah, what did you do to
How
get
did you
his
prep, Dylan?
cadence?
Everyone wants to know.
Yeah, Dylan, how did you prep,
did you
Dylan?
do?
His
Please,
voice is
Dylan.
insane in this movie.
It's
How did
amazing.
you do it?
Orchestrate that?
Yeah, we
We
are
just need to
actually
know.
telepathic.
Yeah.
I did not do a lot of prep.
So in that way, you followed Jason's direction.
Yes, I was the only one who did the homework by
Yeah.
not doing the homework.
The homework was, don't prep. You already know how to do this. Because at the end of the day, the idea is to capture one piece of essence of the character. You can't actually replicate a person, 100%, and particularly in an ensemble this big. So it was about one part of the essence of somebody. How do you bring that to life? And more so, how do you get along as a group? And that's what was so cool about this cast, is that from day one, they made the building feel alive.
Meanwhile, I was actually working from a place of utter fear and terror that I would ruin my career trying to do this. So
Are you serious?
yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, I watched compulsively only Chevy Chase for a couple months. But the thing that I actually was most nervous about, you can like watch someone. There's so much out there of Chevy. Like I could watch and I could try to embody what he's doing and replicate that. But what we don't know, and what you spend a lot of time in this film, is watching these people not performing, but living. And so it's like, oh wow, what is that person like? In Chevy's case, he gets embarrassed a bit, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what Chevy looks like in a really vulnerable state. And then I was watching interviews with him, and there's some great Dick Cavett interviews, but his first time on Johnny Carson, he comes out and he's really nervous. He's this young guy, really nervous. And Johnny asks him a question, and he answers with, I do. And it has nothing to do with the question. And everyone pauses, and Johnny laughs in his face suddenly, and everyone is just laughing at Chevy, and he's like flustered, and Johnny's like, let me tell you this is gonna work. I wanna ask you a question, and you're gonna answer in relation to that question. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. So it was like finding these little nuggets where you can actually see like, oh, that's Chevy humiliated, and I can use that.
Yeah, Jason explained it to me, part of his reasoning for not wanting you to speak to said person you're playing is because we really want to embody the energy of what they were going through on that particular day.
Yeah.
And so I remember speaking with Garrett, and against Jason's, but I knew.
I love how much they listen.
Yeah, no, this was an accident. You were presenting.
No, I spoke to him first.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
Contacted him
purpose.
personally, directly.
But Garrett was going through similar things that I find myself going through in my career. So it was kind of easy to relate to that fish out of water feeling, to being the first of something, you know what I mean? And to kind of really, to have a select group of people that are skilled at a particular thing, and you feel like you're coming in with your own brand of whatever, and you don't know how it fits into this puzzle. And so, with the backdrop of, post-civil rights and all those things, Garrett was going through a lot more than just having to perform. And so I wanted to make sure that that's actually what Garrett was feeling. And Jason was spot on with his writing. And so it made a lot of sense for me. And against Jason's will, I'm very grateful that I did what I had to do.
Well, when you say don't prepare, I know everyone's already going to prepare so much, and I'm just trying to get them to pull back to a certain extent.
No, it's really generous.
I know that the movie is set before the rest of the first season unfolds, but did you guys watch that in prep, and how do you feel like the first season of SNL holds up?
I actually made the mistake of going, okay, so the one thing I know I'm definitely not going to do, the one way I'm going to like follow Jason's advice is I'm not going to watch any of the first season of SNL. And then we get to like 2 days before shooting, and we're in cast camp. I'll let someone else explain the idea of cast
We didn't have trailers. We had a big common area with 70s furniture and ping pong and board games and old records, and we all had our own dressing rooms. They were all specifically designed and catered for our characters' personalities, which was really cool, but everyone was always together on set and off set.
Well, okay, so I came in and the first season was playing, and there was this clip of Gilda that I'd never seen before, and I was like, oh my God! Help me! I was like at a roadblock with her, and this video of her being a fireman came on, and I was like, oh, thank goodness.
So fun.
Thank goodness. So that's my little anecdote.
It was kind of weird though. Yeah, on the TV there was just the first season on a loop.
On
like every day it would be the same episodes. They just filter throughout the day, and eventually we would like change it to something, and then we'd come back from set, and then it would be back on the first season of SNL.
Is that you?
Yeah, no, I said. Put it on. Well, I wanted it to be 1970s television in general that you guys were watching while you're there. The best thing is the photos of you playing ping pong in your bee outfits. But Gilda was the fairy dust, and Garrett is looking for his identity. Chevy is an ego that needs to be humbled. Aykroyd is this genius that's like filtering a fire hose through a straw. Each one had like one thing to focus on. That was their journey.
Awesome. Well, sorry to have to wrap so quickly, but thank you guys for being here. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.